The first oil well in the Middle East was discovered in Iran in 1908. 45 years later, Iranian Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh announced plans to nationalise the country's oil reserves. The move threatened the interests of Western oil companies in the region and prompted British and American intelligence forces to plan and coordinate the overthrow of the democratically elected leader. Crude oil is the most traded commodity in the world. The type that's found in the Middle East has been particularly sought after because it's easy and cheap to extract and refine, unrestricted by environmental legislation, and globally central so it can be efficiently exported. Currently, 2/3 of oil produced in the Middle East are exported to nations in the Asia Pacific, such as China, Japan, and South Korea. The Organisation of the Petroleum Exporting Countries was established in 1960 in an attempt to unify exporting countries and ensure the stabilisation of the global oil market. OPEC's 14 member states collectively own 81.5% of the world's proven crude oil reserves, with 65% of these in the Middle Eastern states of Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. Saudi Arabia alone owns 1/3 of the Middle East reserves, making it the world's largest producer of petroleum. The value of the country's oil and gas exports contributed nearly 50% to their GDP in 2017, approximately $339 billion. With the bulk of the world's crude oil supply located in a region that's prone to outbreaks of diplomatic and militarized conflict, periods of instability have the potential to exacerbate the volatility of the global market and significantly disrupt standard trading. During the Yom Kippur War in 1973, the United States increased its support of the Israeli effort to counteract the Soviet Union's decision to provide arms to Egypt and Syria. This prompted a coalition of Arab countries to reduce their oil production and enforce an embargo on exports to the US, creating an international crisis that lasted for almost 6 months. The global price of a barrel of oil quadrupled from $3 to $12 and caused a worldwide shortage that resulted in panicked queues at petrol stations and calls for measures that would reduce domestic transportation and household energy consumption.
Where it's not just US having access to oil, Saudi Arabia is able to exercise influence to ensure a consistent flow of oil and its price stability. They're the critical elements of it. It's not US control of oil fields. They want stability in pricing and they want consistent flow.
In 2016, the global demand for oil averaged 95.12 million barrels per day. The uses of crude oil are endless, with refined petroleum products such as gasoline, diesel, and raw materials used to fuel cars and planes, generate electricity, and create plastics that form an uncountable number of products used throughout our everyday lives. To meet an increasing demand, an enduring pillar of American foreign policy has been to preserve the uninterrupted flow of oil out of the Persian Gulf.
To whoever would listen, I said, keep the oil. Keep the oil. Keep the oil. Don't let somebody else get it.
However, in an evolving economic market, this reliance on Middle Eastern oil is actually shifting. While a recent poll found that 73% of US citizens believe that the bulk of America's oil is imported from the Middle East, 40% of the country's imports actually come across the border from Canada, and only 17% from states such as Saudi Arabia and Iraq. Due to an Obama-era decrease in foreign imports and increase in domestic production, some estimates suggest that by 2020, the United States will have overtaken Saudi Arabia as the world's largest producer of petroleum. While an abundance of oil launched the Middle East into the global marketplace, without increasing income revenue, the current power structure and social wealth of states in the Persian Gulf aren't sustainable.
Yeah, diversification in finance and economy, meaning that do not put your eggs in one basket. So GCC countries should diversify their economies from oil sectors and concentrate in other sectors like tourism, construction, high manufacturing, so they will not be hurt by the global oil shock.
Past uncertainty in the global market was driven by the assumption that one day the world would either exhaust its oil supplies or the shift to renewable energy sources would cause a rapid decline in demand that would collapse many of the economies in the Middle East. However, Recent predictions estimate that oil consumption will eventually peak and then plateau. It's difficult to forecast exactly when industry growth will stagnate, but whether it's in the next decade or in a few to come, it's imperative that Gulf states continue to invest in long-term diversification measures that lay the foundation for a self-sustainable and secure economic future. We have to go to a break, but stick around as Associate Professor Libby Topical joins us to discuss an immersive exchange program that's training a group of Saudi Arabian teachers to take on the economic challenges of the 21st century.